South Jersey.
Home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
They've got him! It's a sack!
Sixers.
Oh, baby!
And Flyers. 97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City, a Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is Game Night with Josh Hinnett on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort Studio, here's Josh Hinnett.
Josh Hinnett hanging out here with our Friday night. Phillies start their road trip tonight. Sixers get another win with Joel Embiid on the court. Flyers back on the ice, but not with Samuel Ersson as the starting goalie. Plus, the women's Final Four is tonight. Get all that more here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. Josh Hinnett hanging out with you. As always, you guys can join the conversation at 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. I want to first hit on these Sixers from last night because when you look at that game last night, you realize that Joel Embiid is more than just the reigning MVP. He is easily the most important player on any team. And I have this, and I'll fully admit, maybe this is a bias I have. So I'm prefacing it by saying that. I'm so tired of feeling about how Jokic could win the MVP again this year. Because to me, we have turned, not me and you listening on 97.3 ESPN FM. I mean, we the media, okay? The media has turned the MVP award into a opportunity to give someone a trophy. They have turned the MVP award into an opportunity to just hand out awards to people. You have seen over the last 2 months that Joel Embiid is the most valuable player, arguably, for any team in the NBA. The 76ers went from being a potential top 3 team in the Eastern Conference in the standings to falling all the way down to 8th at one point. It is absolutely insane, that kind of drop off. That level, that amount of drop is out of this world. But yet I got to listen to fill in the blank media guy tell me that Nikola Jokic is having a great season. And that's the problem with a lot of the sports conversations today. I don't need to know Jokic's stats to know if he should be MVP. It shouldn't matter how great your stats are if the most valuable player is the guy who gets taken off of a team and they almost fall out of the postseason. I know it's the NBA rules. The rule is you got to play a certain number of games for MVP. But it's not just that. It's the fact that you saw the Sixers beat a Thunder team without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And now Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is not going to play the rest of their road trip, according to their head coach, because of the fact that he's still recovering from an injury. They want him to get plenty of rest. They are sending him back to Oklahoma City. So he cannot play again until Tuesday, April 9th. Tonight, The Thunder are in Indiana to play the Pacers. It could have been a big help for the 76ers if he was out there. But he's not. And as a result, the Pacers have a much better chance of winning the game tonight, which doesn't help the Sixers. But again, another team in the Thunder who is not the same team without their star player. They lost to the Sixers. They got completely crushed by Boston. Do we really believe that the Nuggets would lose a game by 35 points if Jokic wasn't on the floor? I don't think so. I think that Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. and Aaron Gordon and the other players on that team are good enough not to let that happen. But we're giving it to Jokic because he's having a great statistical season. I don't need to know his stats. The V stands for most valuable player. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander should be the MVP of the NBA this year. But he won't be because a bunch of numbskulls who cover the NBA are going to vote for Jokic. So when I'm watching the Sixers game last night, I see why Embiid's the MVP. Joel Embiid is the MVP because the 76ers are basically nothing without him. He makes up for so many deficiencies. It is absolutely wild. And even though they have only won the last 2 games by 4 points, it is so obvious that everyone on this team is better because of Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid has not been the team's leading scorer for 2 straight games. But you know what he has been? He has been the most impactful player on the floor. He has garnered the most attention. Most points? No. Most rebounds? No. Most assists? Definitely not. Although it's good to see him cut down the turnovers last night, right? No. What he does is he draws so much attention that even a Joel Embiid, who is not at full strength, who is not at the apex of his abilities right now as he's getting back into basketball shape, he went out there and gave you a game where he forced the Miami Heat to work so hard through the first 3 quarters of that game that it looked like they started running out of gas in the 4th quarter. And the Sixers capitalized. In the first half, Maxey was having a monster game. In the second half, Kelly Oubre stepped up big time. And you saw coming off the bench, guys like Cam Payne hit some big shots. You saw some big moments in the game. Nick Batum is, like Mike Gill mentioned this earlier on the Sports Bash Show on 97.3 ESPN, about how Batum is basically turning into PJ Tucker. You don't look for him to score. You look for him to do everything else. Batum was second on the team in assists last night. He has gotten so good as Batum at knowing where to throw the ball, basically, where to put the ball, how to get it to the best player. And Kyle Lowry, this guy is such a hard-nosed veteran. He fits perfectly into the mentality this team wants to play with energy, with aggression, and he's going to come up big in the postseason. Guys like Batum and Lowry, these are the kind of players that were missing from the Sixers in years past. And they only really had one time, which was when they had Jimmy Butler. This organization has not consistently had the type of players who have the mental fortitude to just clench their fist and fight. They just haven't. And I don't mean literally physically fighting, although I think Kyle Lowry could definitely got your back in a throwdown if you need him to. But this team has not had the type of hard-nosed veterans consistently in the past. They had it with PJ Tucker last year. They had it with Jimmy Butler a few years ago. And that's mostly it. Joel Embiid in some ways is similar to when you go back through hockey history, to throw it over to hockey. You know how in hockey they had enforcers, right? They had the tough guys who protected the star players. I feel like that's what Embiid needs. Embiid needs some tough guys who are going to protect him. Remember Mike Scott, right? He needs a lot of those kind of guys out there to help him out. And so that is where these guys come in. This is the value of these players. And now you don't have one, but you have two of them. You have Batum and you have Lowry. And as we've learned, Pat Beverly was a fake tough guy. Because anybody who goes to the Milwaukee Bucks and says that these guys want to win more than the Sixers do, and you look how poorly the Bucks have been, that their head coach is blaming everyone except for the players and himself for why they're losing. It's just ridiculous. And watching the game last night, like I said, Joel Embiid is so impactful. He is so much larger than life as impact on the game. It puts this team in a position to be successful. And now, when you look down the stretch of the season, Grizzlies tomorrow night, Spurs on Sunday, Detroit Pistons Tuesday, Orlando Magic Friday, Brooklyn Nets Sunday. You should be able to find a way to go no worse than 4-2 in those 6 games. Hopefully you can go 5-1. But it's all going to come down to execution, taking care of Joel Embiid, and this team has a chance to get out of the play-in tournament. I'll check back on the text board in just a moment at 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Tonight on 973 ESPN, we will have the women's college basketball Final Four. So there'll be a Caitlin Clark versus Paige Beckers. The Flyers game will be on our sister station, Rock 104.1 on the Rock 104.1 mobile app, because Fedotov, he is going to be the starting in goal tonight. And I think that it's interesting to see what the Flyers are doing, because the Flyers are really trying to get to the finish line, frankly, in the most logical way possible, which is not overwork Samuel Ersson. It's no small thing that this team is trying to do whatever it takes to push the right buttons to get them to the finish line. Samuel Ersson has been an incredible rookie this year. But the Flyers finally have a goaltender who is not going to let in loose goals to back him up. And with the back-to-back games tonight and tomorrow, we knew Ivan Fedotov was going to play one of those games. But now we're seeing at the Flyers what their plan is. And considering the fact that Sean Couturier is not traveling with the team for the back-to-back games tonight and tomorrow, due to what they're calling an upper body injury, the Flyers seem between Couturier and Ersson, they are trying to get to the finish line of the postseason without overworking their guys. And you look at the Flyers' schedule coming up. Like the Sixers, they should be able to win the majority of their games coming up. The Sixers have 6 games remaining in their season. The Flyers have 6 games remaining in their season. And like the Philadelphia 76ers, they should also finish no worse than 4-2. Buffalo, Columbus, and Montreal are all teams that you should be able to beat. And in theory, if Couturier comes back for the Montreal game, then that puts you in a good spot to at least win a couple of these road games at worst. Rangers game's going to be tough. But this is where having the veteran backup in Ivan Fedotov compared to Felix Sandstrom comes into play. Can he come in and help offset the wear and tear on these guys? Because when you play back-to-back games, that is not easy on anyone's body. I don't care how in condition, how in shape, how great a professional athlete you are. So we'll keep an eye on the Flyers this weekend again. Here's the Flyers game tonight versus Buffalo on Rock 104.1 and the Rock 104.1 app. So we got a lot to get to, and we'll get to what you guys think about it as well. I see Jeff in Ocean City chiming in at 609-403-0973. We got DMs coming in on the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Don't forget, Phillies are also back in action. And I told you guys before that Kyle Schwarber lost some weight. And he said on the Starkville podcast he was trying to be better this year at getting base hits and getting on base. Well, I think that he's doing a pretty good job at that. And I'm starting to wonder if maybe everyone else on the team, like Nick Castellanos, should have approached the offseason the same way. Kyle Schwarber legitimately approached the offseason as, I know I can be better. I need to be better. I don't think he's going to hit 280 the entire year, but starting the year batting 280, he's got 2 home runs. I mean, for goodness sake, the guy's got a stolen base right now. Absolutely wild. And he's got 7 hits. 7 hits in the first 6 games of the year. Why couldn't everybody else take the same approach? Maybe Castellanos needs to go on the Schwarber diet. Because whatever's going on with his swing, that thing is slow as molasses. He can't turn on a fastball if his life depends on it right now. It's absolutely ridiculous. So we got a lot on the table here. Women's Final Four tonight. Men's Final Four tomorrow. Phillies back in action. 3-game set in D.C. Flyers on the road in Buffalo. Sixers win 2 straight with Embiid back. Hit the weekend for a back-to-back. And, of course, why are the Phillies, Sixers, and Flyers on the road? Because WrestleMania has invaded Philadelphia. And I'll give you some of my thoughts on WrestleMania this weekend as well. We got a lot to get to here on GameNight with me, Josh Hennig, on 97.3 ESPN FM. And don't forget the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free for you to listen to every game we have of the Flyers. Every time there are college basketball games on this weekend, you can listen to all the action on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app for free. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City.
Wake up weekday mornings with Unsportsmanlike with Evan Cohen, Chris Canty, and Michelle Smallman.
If I'm a Philadelphia 76er fan, I don't think there's any playoff loss that you should be okay with. I think the Philadelphia 76ers are that good. Embiid is just so big and dominant whenever he wants to be, and they're insanely well coached by Nick Nurse. I think they're awesome, and I would not be surprised if they went to the NBA Finals.
Unsportsmanlike with Evan Cohen, Chris Canty, and Michelle Smallman on 97.3 ESPN.
Hey, Jen, I just stopped in to say hello, and oh my goodness, look how busy it is in here. How do you get all these customers?
Yeah, this month has been a record breaker for us. For a long time, we had decent business coming in from word of mouth, but we weren't growing. Lately, though, a lot of new folks have been finding us online, and that's made all the difference.
That's terrific, man. I wish I could figure out how to do that for my shop, but I have no idea where to start.
Just do what I did. It's not as hard as you think. Go to mylocalcustomers.com to see exactly how many searches there are for businesses like yours. If you see that there are a good number of clients searching in our area, you'll also get some suggestions for the best way to get their attention.
Do you think there are a lot of people searching for my business?
There's only one way to find out. Go to mylocalcustomers.com. It's quick, easy, and free.
Go to mylocalcustomers.com for a free local customer analysis that will show you how many customers are searching online for your type of business. It's quick, easy, and free. Visit mylocalcustomers.com. That's mylocalcustomers.com. GameNight.com.
Spring Black Friday savings at the Home Depot. You can get up to $2,300 off select kitchen packages from top brands like GE Profile. That means you can save on a new GE Profile smart quad door refrigerator that's full of convenient features like a dual dispense autofill pitcher and an ice dispenser with up to 12.5 pounds capacity. Bring convenience to your kitchen with smart, innovative appliances from GE Profile. Right now, save up to $2,300 on select kitchen packages with Spring Black Friday savings at the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
This March, Wendy's has some amazing deals on their hamburgers made with fresh, never frozen beef.
Like a juicy Dave's single for $1 and a fresh $2 Dave's double with in-app offer.
It's such a good deal, we wrote a little ditty about it. Get it for $1. Dave's single, order it. Dave's single, get it for $1. Choose wisely, choose Wendy's official hamburger March Madness.
Limited time offer. Participating U.S. Wendy's. See offer details and redeem at Wendy's app. Account registration required. Fresh beef available. Contiguous U.S. and Alaska.
Every day, Cintas service reps help businesses get ready for the workday. They provide freshly laundered workwear delivered every week. Mats, mops, restroom and cleaning supplies. First aid and safety products to help your employees stay safe. They even test and inspect fire extinguishers and emergency lights. Cintas helps keep your business running smoothly. See what Cintas can do for you. Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
Are you ready to smell better naked? I'm Dr. Shannon Klingman, the OBGYN creator of Lumi, the whole body deodorant that's clinically proven to control odor for 72 hours on pits, feet, privates, and beyond. It's pH optimized to safely and effectively control odor anywhere you have it, but wish you didn't. Plus, it's proven to work better than a shower with soap alone. Whether you shower twice a day or 3 times a week, Lumi works better. And who doesn't want zero body odor? With over 200,000 5-star reviews, I'm so sure you're going to love it, or you can return it for free.
There's a special offer for listeners. Use code 500 and get 15% off your first purchase with code 500, like the Lumi Starter Pack, Acidified Body Wash, or new Lumi Plus Sweat Control. That's LUMEdeodorant.com, code 500 for 15% off your first purchase. Love it or return it for free. That's LUMEdeodorant.com, code 500 to save 15% today.
Now your ideas don't have to wait. Now they have everything they need to come to life. Dell Technologies and Intel are creating technology that loves ideas, loves expanding your business, evolving your passions. We push what technology can do, so great ideas can happen right now. Find out how to bring your ideas to life at Dell.com. Welcome to Now.
Are you someone who tries to drive while distracted by your phone? Someone who props it on the steering wheel or peeks down at it for a glance, or just scrolls and scrolls? If so, you could be the next person to get into a fender bender, get a ticket, veer off the road, or even cause a crash that kills you or someone else. Enough already. Put the phone away or pay. Paid for by NHTSA.
If spring allergies keep you trapped inside, then you need Navage Nasal Care to keep you breathing clearly and enjoying all the beauties of spring. Navage helps clear nasal passages that are often clogged because of seasonal allergies. Navage gently flushes a pure, refreshing saline solution through your nasal passages to clear out congestion, sucking out that springtime pollen and other irritants trapped in your nose. Navage is available online at Navage.com or in stores at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, and Target. Navage, Navage.
Hey, it's Mike Gill. As you know, we talk a lot about player performance on this show, but you know what else performs really well? The 2024 Acura Integra. And now through April 30th, my friend Rocco at Key Acura of Atlantic City can get you into one for $379 a month with just $29.95 down. That includes tax tags, dock fees, everything. Go see Rocco at Key Acura, Chilton Road, EHT, the small but friendly dealer with convenient Saturday service hours. Visit KeyAcuraofAtlanticCity.com. See dealer for details.
This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
Or check in on the text board at 609-403-0973. Your DMs into 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank. See how I did want to hit on also the news. I meant to mention it earlier about the Sixers getting fined today. So for those in here, the 76ers got fined because The NBA says that they are violating the league's injury reporting rules. Now, for a little background, okay? The 76ers on Monday listed Joel Embiid as out for Tuesday's game. They did not change his game status until about 2 hours before tip-off. So there were two elements of the rules that were violated. Number one, if a player has a chance to play the next day, you don't list him as out. Number two, the official league rules say that you must make a player available by 5 p.m. Eastern time of a game that starts in the Eastern time zone, basically. Or basically the equivalent in a time zone. For example, the game starts at 10 o'clock Eastern time, but 7 p.m. West. Then in that case, it would be 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. So the Sixers basically, they deem violated both rules. And the league also said in their press release that the $100,000 fine, quote, takes into account the 76ers' prior history of fines for violating injury reporting rules. So there's two huge things here. Number one, it's obvious that the Sixers organization does not care about following rules. They just don't care. Now, I know for some of you out there, you might chuckle and think that's funny. But isn't it a little ridiculous? They could have listed Joel Embiid as doubtful or questionable all along. And nobody would have said anything. No one would have been like mad or angry about it, right? You know, Maxey was questionable and he was ruled out Tuesday's game. They followed the rules with him. Why not Embiid? It's starting to almost feel like this organization thinks, for whatever reason, that they are getting some sort of enhanced advantage. They're turning the Nick Sirianni and the Eagles, where it's like they're trying to milk every little bit of advantage they get out of this. And to me, it's so ridiculous. At some point, who cares about the advantage? Players still have to play. If Joel Embiid can play, then who cares what the other team knows, doesn't know? It's on you to execute and do your job. It is wild. Absolutely wild that this organization continues to do a bizarro world job at handling Joel Embiid. And you can blame whoever you want for it. Everyone's got their theories. I know some of you hate the owner, some of you hate the GM, whatever. The reality is that somebody in the organization really needs to have a conversation about, guys, the optics of this are just ridiculous. Perception becomes reality. And the perception is that the Sixers organization does not know how to handle getting the right information about their players out there. And I know for a fact that is not true. I know for a fact that the Sixers organization is not filled with idiots. I say that because I know that one of the people who works for Josh Harris's group, who has done a lot of work in the PR department of the Sixers organization and for Josh Harris's other groups, is South Jersey's own Dave Schaller. Dave Schaller was an incredible individual at handling public relations and media and everything when he worked for the UFC. And I know how good of a guy he is. The fact that he is working in an organization and the Sixers, for whatever reason, are still doing this weird stuff when it comes to handling the public information about Joel Embiid's health and handling the reporting of him for the league injury report and all these different things. I just don't perceive how someone who is that smart and that savvy is working in your own organization and you're still letting these things happen. It's just so bizarre to me. I just feel like the Sixers could do a so much better job at handling this stuff when it comes to the injury report and Joel Embiid and like the whole situation in Denver. It was basically less than an hour before game time, and Embiid's not playing. He ain't playing in Denver. And everyone's like, why? How did that happen? How do you get to Denver and his knee swelled up? Like you got to do a better job if you're the 76ers at just following the league rules. I understand that for a person like Josh Harris, $100,000 is nothing, okay? $100,000 to Josh Harris is probably $1 for me, okay? I get that. Or maybe $10 for me. I don't know. I don't know his finances off the top of my head personally. But the point is that I just don't perceive how throwing money away, even if it is a small amount of money for someone with that much money in hand, how this is a good way of going about life. Again, perception becomes reality. Why antagonize the NBA? Why antagonize the league that you play in for no good reason? The Sixers could have always listed Joel Embiid with another designation that was not out between Monday afternoon and Tuesday afternoon. They could have listed him as questionable earlier in the day on Tuesday, but they didn't. They didn't do either of those, and they basically kind of like stuck their tongue out at the league. That is perceived. Again, perception becomes reality, okay? The perception is that you're either lazy or you're being immature. And I just don't perceive, from what I know of the Sixers organization and the people who work in that organization, as either immature or lazy. Now, if I'm wrong, someone can let me know. But my perception is that I see one message being put out to the world and another message being put out through action. And if actions speak louder than words, where's the disconnect? Back to the text board at 609-403-0973. Your DMs into 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. Andrew in Summers Point chimes in with it's a valid and very good question. He says, why does this have to be on the team and their administrative staff for the Sixers? What if Embiid just woke up and felt better? That's from Andrew in Summers Point. Well, it has to be on the team and the administrative staff, Andrew, because they're the ones who make sure the correct information gets put out from the team. It could be as simple as Joel Embiid woke up and felt better or worse from one day to the next. That was the story that was put out about him in Denver. The story was that he felt fine until he woke up the day of the Nuggets game, and apparently being in elevation, again, theoretically, is what caused the flare up in his knee. And Joel Embiid had said previously that he had been playing injured most of the year. If he's playing injured, then why not just list him as questionable for every game? That's what teams like the Patriots did for years. Remember, the Patriots basically would list Tom Brady and Julian Edelman and almost every player as questionable every week because they could. The Sixers could literally, Andrew at Summers Point, just list Joel Embiid as questionable from here until the end of time. They could literally turn to the league and say, hey, you don't like how we're handling how we report Embiid? Fine. We are going to list him as questionable for every single game. Because in theory, he could be questionable for every single game, considering some of the injuries that he has had. You don't have to list him as out. And that's where the NBA is drawing the line, Andrew Summers' point. So you're right. We are looking at it in terms of how does Joel Embiid feel? Because you're right. If Joel Embiid wakes up and says, I feel better than I've ever felt in weeks, then sure, you could have a scenario where Joel Embiid turns around and says, hey guys, I feel better than yesterday. I'm good to go. And then the flip side can happen. Like I said, in Denver, he woke up, his knee had flared up, and he turned around and he said, hey guys, I'm not feeling right. And they checked him out and they worked him out and said, he ain't playing. I think it's a, as I said, it's a perception versus reality debate. It's the idea that Joel doesn't have to, keyword, have to keep basically sticking their tongue out at the NBA. There's just no need for it. Jeff in Ocean City chimes in at 609-403-0973. He says, Josh, it's a huge sports weekend. Which team or game or event draws your interest the most? I am more than ready for the men's Final Four tomorrow. That's from Jeff in Ocean City. Well, Jeff, of course, I'm sure you'll be watching the games, but you could also hear the games right here on 97.3 ESPN and 97.3 ESPN mobile app. What are drawing my interest? Well, I'm very interested in the 3 Philly teams this weekend for a variety of reasons. I'm very interested in the Phillies because I want to see if, as we talked about yesterday here on 97.3 ESPN, if how going on this road trip can kind of break them out of this mental rut they have been in. If going on this road trip, could get them to maybe to have a better approach to the plate. You know, they mentioned during the Wednesday broadcast on NBC Sports Philadelphia, during the game with John Kruk, and then in the post game with guys like Metallico and Ruben Amaro Jr., about how the Phillies had one approach on Tuesday and a different approach on Wednesday. They were much more aggressive. They were much more focused on Tuesday's game, but on Wednesday they weren't. To be a winning baseball club, you got to have the right approach every day. Now, you might not be at your best every day, but if you at least have the right approach every day, like for example, we all have jobs that require us to do certain tasks. And there are 2 ways of looking at those tasks. We can look at those tasks and say, just roll our eyes and sigh and say, I have to do this. I don't want to do this. This is stupid. Or on the flip side, we can approach it from a different perspective and say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it well, and I'm going to get it done quickly so I can go on with the rest of my day. Mentality matters in life. So for the Phillies, I want to see, do they approach this road trip as we have an opportunity to get better, be better, get on a winning streak, and come back to Philadelphia and have the fans have good feelings about us again? Or do they approach this road trip as, we got to play the Nationals, we got to play this game, I don't feel like going to the ballpark? What is your attitude? What is your mentality? It matters. And that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the approach and the mentality is what I want to do for the Phillies. That's the one thing I'm looking forward to this weekend. For the Sixers, they have a back-to-back games on the road. Which game does Joel Embiid play? Which one does he not? The working assumption is he will not play both games of the back-to-back. So if he doesn't play both games of the back-to-back, which game doesn't he play? And how does the team handle him not playing in one game versus another? Now, Mike Gill mentioned it earlier. On paper, you look at the Sixers schedule. Grizzlies, Spurs, Pistons, those are all games you should win. But historically, we know that the second game of a back-to-back on the road is a game that almost every NBA team loses. So, if the Sixers are supposed to, on paper, beat the Grizzlies and the Spurs, but historically, history tells us that they are going to lose one of those games, how do they lose the game? What does it look like? I am very curious to see how this team plays out this weekend. And then finally, the Flyers. I want to know what the Flyers, if Fedotov plays tonight and Ersan plays tomorrow, does the defense step up for both guys or one guy? Do the Flyers look more sluggish tomorrow versus tonight? No Sean Couturier for the 2 games. Who steps up in his absence? Who is the guy who picks up the slack at center and becomes the guy to fill the gap? Now, Jeff in Ocean City says he's looking forward to the men's Final Four. Well, question for the men's Final Four. Zach Edey versus DJ Burns. Can Burns slow down Zach Edey tomorrow night? Remember, it is Purdue versus NC State. It's the team that's supposed to be here versus the team that no one expected to be here. How does that play out? I'm very curious to see that. Furthermore, I want to know from the Final Four, it's UConn. If UConn is the best team on earth, how do they handle that game tomorrow night? Is it business as usual and they go out and get the job done? Or is it we're not mentally ready for this matchup with an Alabama team that can score in bunches? UConn is going to have to outscore Alabama one way or the other. Are they fully ready to go into a shootout, or do they lock down defensively and slow them down? Because we all want to see UConn versus Purdue in the final. We all want to see the 2 big men go to war. Can NC State stop it? Can Alabama stop it? And then, of course, the women's tonight. You have 2 versions of history on the line tonight. South Carolina is undefeated. Dawn Staley and her team are looking for an undefeated national championship season. A lot of people expect them to dominate this game against NC State because NC State, at least on paper, does not look like a team that has the firepower to keep up with South Carolina. The majority of NC State's games have not been high-scoring affairs. The only game that was really high-scoring in this tournament in terms of their opponents was the Tennessee game. And even that game only added up to, 151 total points, I believe. So it's not like NC State is going out there and beating a bunch of teams that are scoring a lot of points. South Carolina is a high-powered offense with a defense that is very underrated. And they've really only had one real close game this entire tournament run, and that was a game against Indiana. So on the one side of the bracket, South Carolina going for undefeated season. On the other side of the bracket, it's Caitlin Clark versus the former Caitlin Clark. Before Caitlin Clark ever came along, there was Paige Beckers. Paige Beckers was the savant shooting from 30 feet away. She was the scoring phenom. She was supposed to be the next star of college basketball, and then injuries happened. This is the first time that she's been healthy, like fully healthy, in a couple years. So, can UConn take down the supernova that is Caitlin Clark in Iowa? Or are we going to get Caitlin Clark versus South Carolina, and we have the unstoppable force versus the immovable object going head to head? Or does UConn get back to the national championship game and we have Gino Auriemma staring across the court at Dawn Staley? And by the way, I haven't even touched any of the storylines from WrestleMania this weekend. So Jeff in Ocean City, you asked what I am looking forward to. I gave you everything but WrestleMania. Because I will get to WrestleMania, my thoughts on that coming up on the other side. I see some of your texts. I'll get to them on the other side. 609-403-0973. Your DMs into 973. ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night on 973 ESPN.
With 64 games in the books, UConn, Purdue, NC State, and Alabama now converge on Phoenix, with just 2 more wins needed to claim the 2024 NCAA Men's Basketball Championship. Tune in this Saturday to hear Westwood One's exclusive coverage of the NCAA Final Four.
Listen to the NCAA Tournament, the Final Four, on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 4:30.
Breaking news, the Birds are going to Brazil. Phillies Sports Trips is excited to announce that they've already reserved hundreds of flights and have some epic plans in the works for an incredible trip to Sao Paulo with round-trip airfare, airport, and game day transfers, hotel, tailgate, and tickets to the game. Phillies Sports Trips is making the most exciting Philly experiences easy for you to plan. Visit phillysportstrips.com today to book your trip and stay tuned for the full Eagles schedule coming in May.
Something big is cooking during Spring Black Friday at the Home Depot with the Weber Jumbo Joe Premium Charcoal Grill. We're talking almost 2 feet across big. That's 13 burgers at once big. Right now, get the Weber Jumbo Joe Premium Charcoal Grill for just $99.98 and bring that classic charcoal experience to your cookout. Buy it online and pick it up in store to get to grilling sooner. Go big during Spring Black Friday with the Weber Jumbo Joe Premium Charcoal Grill, now just $99.98 at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Order select in-stock items by 4 p.m. subject to availability.
We're David and Greg Figueroa, founders of Melinda's Hot Sauce.
Customers say we've ruined all other hot sauces for them.
So we're sorry.
For rocking your world.
We're sorry we craft hot sauces from fresh, hot, flavorful ingredients, while other brands just use dried spice dust and vinegar. So a moment of silence.
Set your mouth on flavor with Melinda's Hot Sauces. Find them at your local retailer or online at melindas.com. That's MELINDAS.com.
Are you someone who tries to drive while distracted by your phone? Someone who props it on the steering wheel or peeks down at it for a glance? Or just scrolls and scrolls? If so, you could be the next person to get into a fender bender, get a ticket, veer off the road, or even cause a crash that kills you or someone else. Enough already. Put the phone away or pay. Paid for by NHTSA.
Imagine your team always looking and feeling their best in high-performance technical workwear. Cintas can make it happen. They have garments for almost every job imaginable. And with the Cintas Workwear program, you get freshly laundered garments delivered every week for everyone on your team. Great garments without the bother of laundry. That's a real perk for employees. Find out how Cintas can boost team image and morale. Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
Folks at Wendy's have a revolutionary new product for you. Introducing the new Orange Dreamsicle Frosty. It's like a time machine that takes you all the way back to now, the year 2024. It's the classic, creamy, orangey flavor you remember. Dare I say, it's new-timey. It's the flavor you grew up with, just all grown up. Head over to your local Wendy's establishment and get yours while supplies last. The new Orange Dreamsicle Frosty. Here for the now, for now.
Limited time only. Participating Wendy's.
Sneezing, coughing, stuffy nose, runny nose, postnasal drip, interrupted sleeping. I was groggy at the end of the day.
Allergies and sinus congestion were making Jana miserable. Then, a friend recommended Navage. Navage provides immediate drug-free congestion relief, flushing your nasal passages with refreshing saline and sucking out mucus, germs, and other airborne irritants. Navage helps you breathe easier, sleep better, and feel your best right away.
Navage gave me instant relief. I didn't have to wait 30 minutes. I didn't have to wait an hour, 90 minutes. I didn't have to wait a minute. I ran the rinse and I felt better.
Stop suffering from congestion and start breathing and feeling your best again with Navage. Navage.
I've had people ask me how I find relief, and I tell them Navage immediately. This thing is amazing.
Navage is available at Navage.com or at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, and Rite Aid.
Some people just know there's a better way to do things, like bundling your home and auto insurance with Allstate, or hiring someone to move your piano instead of doing it yourself. So, do things the better way. Bundle home and auto and save up to 25% with Allstate.
Bundled savings vary by state and are not available in every state. Saving up to 25% is the countrywide average of the maximum available savings off the home policy. Allstate Vehicle and Property Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Something big is cooking during Spring Black Friday at the Home Depot with the Weber Jumbo Joe Premium Charcoal Grill. We're talking almost 2 feet across big. That's 13 burgers at once big. Right now, get the Weber Jumbo Joe Premium Charcoal Grill for just $99.98 and bring that classic charcoal experience to your cookout. Buy it online and pick it up in store to get to grilling sooner. Go big during Spring Black Friday with the Weber Jumbo Joe Premium Charcoal Grill, now just $99.98 at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Order select in-stock items by 4 p.m. subject to availability.
97.3 ESPN has teamed up with Seize the Deal for incredible weekly offers from some fantastic local restaurants. Here's this week's big deal.
Get a $50 gift card, good for use at the Ravioli House in Wildwood for just $25.
This great deal is on sale now at seizethedeal.com. Hurry, chances are this deal will sell quickly. For more info on this great deal, go to seizethedeal.com.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennick on 97.3 ESPN and on the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
I want to address one thing before we get to the picks for the weekend, our thoughts on the weekend. By the way, right now the Phillies still nothing. They couldn't get any runs in the first inning, even though Corbin Burns came in the game with an 8 ERA. Thanks, Phils, for nothing. I am so impatient sometimes. I'll fully admit that. I see you guys texting about how the injury report is all because of gambling. The truth is, it doesn't matter what the reason is. We all are given tasks at our job that we are asked to follow a certain procedures, certain way of doing things. And sometimes those way of doing those tasks that we are given to do can be tedious and annoying, and nobody wants to follow those procedures. But sometimes you got to do it because it's your job. It doesn't matter if gambling is the reason why they're finding them or not. How about you just do what you're asked to do and you don't get fined? I'm just saying. It's a novel concept. Okay. All right. I see multiple texts about WrestleMania and multiple messages coming in at 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. So my working assumption right now, and while I don't think it has anything to do with the storyline directly, I do think the fire happening in the Cody Rhodes' van and him thanking the Philadelphia Fire Department for probably putting it out. Well, I don't think it's part of the story. I think it's going to be used as part of the story. I genuinely believe that whoever wins on Saturday will lose on Sunday. And you look at the sports betting odds out there, which are not for betting purposes, they're information purposes. I'm a big believer in let sometimes the odds makers tell you what's going on. There's a reason why Cody Rhodes is a favorite to beat Roman Reigns on Sunday. But Roman Reigns is the favorite to beat Cody Rhodes on Saturday. I think the storyline is going to be that the bloodline, Rock and Reigns, are probably going to beat Rhodes and Rollins on Saturday because they want to make The Rock continue to look like he is some invincible force for future ideas and storylines and potential scenarios. And even though Reigns will do most of the work, because despite the fact that Dwayne is in incredible physical condition, the reality is that he is still a much older man compared to Reigns and Rhodes in terms of their physical primes, right? I mean, we're just being honest. I think the idea is going to be Reigns and Rock win. They beat Rhodes and Rollins on Saturday night. And then when it comes to Sunday, that Rhodes is probably going to win the championship. And the idea is going to be that, well, The only reason why Reigns won and beat him on Saturday was because he had Dwayne The Rock Johnson with him. And Rhodes is going to be able to win it on his own without any help. And someone's going to threat to interfere in the match. And that interference is going to be staved off by somebody else. That kind of like storyline is going to play out this weekend. That's my working theory. My other working theory on this weekend is I think what is going to happen with the women's matches is probably going to set up whoever is going to be the main storyline for the next year. I genuinely believe that WWE, as much as they've given this long championship reign, I think they want Becky Lynch to get back on top. I think Becky Lynch wins on Saturday, and I think Bayley wins on Sunday. I think they want those two ladies to be able to use WrestleMania as a launching point for the rest of the year. Remember, it's all about storylines. It's all about build-up. It's all about how you can angle the stories to the narrative. That's why I told you guys months ago that I thought Rhodes was going to win the Royal Rumble and he was going to fight at WrestleMania because they want the storyline. He's going to do what his father Dusty never did. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night. Have a great night, buddy.
Saturday morning in the locker room with Billy Schweim, Josh Hennig, and Dave Klemick join me in the studio. The Sixers are 2-0 with Embiid back in the lineup. I'll tell you all about my trip to Miami to watch the Sixers. The Philly fans are the best. The sportsbook consigliere Dave Sherapan checks in from Las Vegas with his pick to win the NCAA championship. We'll talk Phillies baseball and Flyers hockey, plus some Eagles news. All that and more. It's the locker with Billy Schweim, Saturday morning from 10 a.m. to noon on 97.3 ESPN.
Champion XD.